Shinra Kusakabe's life went up in flames the night his home burned to ashes. In an instant, he lost everything: his mother consumed by fire, his baby brother taken in the chaos, and him left behind with nothing but scars and the nickname Devil's Footprints. Haunted by that night, Shinra swore he'd uncover the truth, avenge his mother, and save his brother. And so, he joined Special Fire Force Company 8, not just to fight the Infernals, but to hunt the real enemy lurking in the flames. The spontaneous combustion consumes the soul of a citizen, igniting an entire train car on fire. The car is isolated and stopped on the tracks near an evacuated station. Shinra Kusakabe, a young boy, decides he can try and put this poor soul to rest. However, before he engages the fire monster known as an Infernal, the Special Fire Force arrives. 4 members of the Special First Force Company 8 arrive at the station. Sister Iris begins a prayer for the soul tormented by flame, and her comrades attack. They hit the monster with a fire-extinguishing shell, and then the captain follows up with a core-annihilating pile bunker. The Infernal tries to fight back, but a second-generation pyrokinetic amongst the soldiers deflect the flames. Sister finishes the prayer, and the captain destroys the core of the Infernal, returning it to the Great Flame. Shinra admires the soldiers and notices one of the station speakers coming loose. Before it collides with the unsuspecting sister, Shinra uses flames from his feet to race across the station and rescue her. The lieutenant recognizes Shinra, and the young boy introduces himself as the newest member of Special Fire Force Company 8. At the Special Fire Cathedral 8, Shinra is surprised to find the Fire Force operates out of a less than modern building. He's brought in, given a uniform, and introduced to Captain Akitaru Obai. Lieutenant Takesa Hinawa introduces himself as well. The captain asks why Shinra is smiling in his profile picture, and the boy explains he has a tendency to smile when he feels tense. Shinra shares that he joined the Fire Force in order to become a hero. The captain tells him a team-oriented mindset comes first, and the lieutenant mocks Shinra for being known as a devil rather than a hero. After the girls finish their showers, Shinra greets them as well. Iris thanks him for saving her, and Maki admires his desire to be a hero. Captain Obai gives a small orientation that explains a bit about the spontaneous human combustion phenomenon. It's the terror that grips everyone in the world, as it can happen to anyone at any time. The first victims of human combustion were labeled as the first generation of prokinetics who completely lost their souls. These infernals can only be destroyed by eliminating their core. The primary goal of the Fire Force is put these tormented souls to rest, as well as discover the source of this phenomenon. Inside Dorm C, where Shinra stays, Shinra recalls promising his mother and younger brother Sho that he would become a hero that would protect them. An unknown incident took Shinra's family from him, and the blame was placed on his shoulders. Tense, Shinra could only smile as he wept, granting him the nickname Devil. Suddenly, an alarm rings throughout the cathedral, and the Fire Force prepares to move out. A factory has been set ablaze by an infernal who took over the soul of the factory manager's wife. The team of fire soldiers board the Matchbox Special Armored Fire Engine and move out. The Blue Stripes arrive on the scene and convey with a fire defense agency. They devise a plan to isolate and defeat the aggressive Infernal. The factory manager pleads for them to put his wife to rest as they enter the blazing building. The wall of flames that greet the team remind Shinra of the trauma from losing his family. The captain reminds him that they're a team, and every second they delay means more destruction. Shinra rises back to his feet and regains his composure. Maki secures a path through the flame wall, but the Infernal redirects the flames and attacks Shinra, sending him flying into a wall. Shinra recalls the details of losing his mother and how he was blamed for it. He knows something else was there, something that truly burned his family away. Ever since that day, Shinra hasn't been able to genuinely smile. The other fire soldiers help Shinra regain consciousness after a few seconds. Captain Obai readies the team for battle and attacks with Maki and Shinra. The lieutenant draws the Infernal's attention with bullets, while Maki and Obai get in close to attack. The Infernal counters and nearly sets Obai on fire, but Maki dispels the flames, and the captain sends the monster flying using his axe. Shinra couldn't keep his family safe, but plans to keep his promise to become a hero. He ignites his flames and uses the power of a third generation to outmaneuver the Infernal before taking it out with one decisive kick. Afterward, the factory manager thanks the soldiers for putting his wife to rest. The captain recognizes Shinra's efforts and claims he's taken his first big step to becoming a hero. A young blonde boy wielding a blade arrives at the Special Fire Cathedral 8, where he proclaims it will be his new castle. Inside, Captain Obai tells Shinra about the Rookie Fire Games and how he and another new recruit will represent Company 8 in the competition. Shinra and the new recruit, Arthur Boyle, happen upon each other in the hallway. Arthur was the Devil's rival in the training academy, and they can't stand one another. They plan to duel on the roof, but they interrupt Maki and Iris, who are on break. Lieutenant Hinawa arrives on the roof and orders Maki to spar with the new recruits to get a better idea of their skill levels before the Rookie Fire Games. Despite only being a second generation, Maki possesses exceptional combat abilities and easily overpowers Shinra, knocking him off the roof. Arthur impresses with his Excalibur plasma blade, but he's no match for her either. Both the boys agree defeating her is impossible and join Captain Obai for ramen at lunch. Afterward, most of the team goes to the firing range where Shinra gets to test out the Type 7 firefighting axe. Arthur claims the only weapon he needs is Excalibur, sparking a conversation about firefighting equipment. It's short-lived as an alarm rings, signaling another infernal appearance in the city. They head for the home that's been set ablaze, and on the way, Obai gives Shinra the Type 7 but tells him to keep it hidden from civilians. They arrive at their destination and learn of a girl whose father has become an infernal 2 years after her mother became one. Shinra and Arthur take out their weapons in preparation for the mission, disobeying their captain's earlier command. Obai pulls them both to the side and explains that putting infernals to rest is actually killing them. The loved ones are bereaved, so their priority is to put the survivor's mind at ease, not fighting their loved ones. Obai, Shinra, and Arthur notice the fire mutating almost as if it's sneering at them. They head inside to a surprisingly peaceful scene, where the internalized man sits peacefully at his kitchen table. Arthur volunteers to put the man out of his misery and destroy the infernal's core with his plasma blade. The house is suddenly caught ablaze again, and Obai feels like someone is behind it. Outside, a mysterious civilian seems to be the cause of the mutated flames. Obai finds the girl and tells her that her father's soul fought back against the flames and won. He returns a picture of her family to put her mind at ease despite her loss. Everyone returns to base, and that night, Shinra and Arthur manage to get along in their bunk bed. Somewhere in a dark lab, a young, mysterious scientist collects ash into a tube. He explains the world is in shambles due to the spontaneous human combustion phenomenon. Flames have distorted space that's carving up the continents and leaving countries in shambles. Most people gather in the relatively undamaged Tokyo Empire, which is split into 8 districts. The Holy Saul Temple and Hajime Industries of the Empire helped develop Amaterasu, the thermal energy that powers Tokyo. The mysterious man from Shinra's second mission is the one listening to the story. He claims the ashes the scientist created worked well to taunt the fire soldiers. The young scientist says the 8th company with the devil among its ranks is led by Akitaru Obai, a man who was promoted twice and demoted twice in his time as a firefighter. He was stripped because of his desire to prioritize saving lives over taking orders. At the site of the Rookie Fire Soldier Games, Shinra meets Tamaki Kotatsu, a 3rd generation of the first company. He's also introduced to 119, the mascots of the Fire Defense Agency. Fire soldiers from every company prepare for the competition, but Shinra notices a familiar man. He recognizes him as a member of the first company and the man who helped put out the fire 12 years ago. Shinra introduces himself as a rookie from the 8th company and asks about the fire from 12 years ago. The man says he doesn't have time to chat, and Tamaki tells the rookie to stop being so forward with her captain. Shinra follows the man again, but he simply replies that he doesn't remember a fire from that long ago. He tells Shinra to go get ready, and everyone gathers for the start of the games. The object of the competition is to storm a large building where a simulated fire is happening. They must rescue those in need and take down a man posing as an infernal. As soon as the event starts, Shinra uses his flames to propel himself to the top of the building and enters from there. He soon encounters the mysterious man with the eye patch, who has knocked out all the men participating in the event inside. The mysterious man, Joker, says he and the Devil's footprints won't be interrupted this way. He asks Shinra if he wants to know about the fire from 12 years ago. Shinra demands the man stay away from the injured crewmen, but Joker threatens to kill them. Shinra stops him by flailing his flaming feet and asks about the fire. Joker only agrees to tell him if he provides some entertainment. A fight ensues between Shinra and Joker, but the latter uses the mysterious ashes to blow Shinra away and overpowers him. Joker is impressed with Shinra's smile despite the circumstances and reveals that his brother Sho is alive as a reward. This only serves to weave suspicion of the Fire Force into Shinra, as he believes someone like the First Company's captain might be hiding something. The Joker asks Shinra to join him and abandon being a hero to learn the truth. Shinra refuses and says he's taking Joker in for assaulting 2 crewmen. This time when they clash, Shinra uses a series of flying kicks and impresses his opponent with the true firepower of the devil. Arthur and Tamaki arrive soon after, and while Shinra tries to explain the situation, Arthur believes this is still all a part of the competition. Arthur tries clashing with the man, but is unable to land a hit with his Excalibur. Tamaki follows up by trapping Joker in flames, but they're all blown away by his exploding ashes. Joker leaves Shinra with a parting gift of all his remaining ashes and asks him to prove he's a hero by saving everyone. As he disappears into the shadows, Joker leaves the invitation open to join his side. Shinra grabs the 2 injured men and tells the other 2 they need to escape before the ashes blow. Arthur and Tamaki carve and blow a hole in the ceiling and Shinra flies out while everyone is holding on to him. The explosion separates them, but Captain Burns grabs Tamaki while the rest of the 8th tries to catch Arthur. Afterward, the building is evacuated and Captain Burns thanks Shinra for saving his rookie. Captain Obai congratulates Shinra on a job well done, and Captain Burns says the 8th has a good man. Later that night, Shinra and Obai meet, and the captain explains that the various regiments of the Fire Force are mostly independent. Each of them acts on their own and are supported by different factions like the Holy Saul Temple and the Hajime Company. The 8th Company is comprised of members the Fire Defense Agency felt they could trust to investigate Companies 1-7. The Special Fire Force Company 5 and their leader, Princess Hibana, gain wind of a possible infernal appearance in Company 8 territory. Despite this, the princess decides to move into the 8th's jurisdiction to study this new infernal. Earlier that day, at Cathedral 8, Lieutenant Hinawa reveals the analysis of Joker's ashes is complete. The powder is revealed to be made from infernal ashes. Shortly after, Arthur and Shinra must complete loads of paperwork, but Maki gives them a job to save a dog in a tree after receiving a call that was meant for firefighters. The duo is resistant at first, but decide to go to get out of doing paperwork. Shinra and Arthur arrive in the city to find Mamoru stuck in the tree. Apparently, he was chased up there due to the recent backlash against the Fire Defense Agency due to the Miyamoto case currently in session. Miyamoto is nearly set free and found not guilty, but he suddenly transforms into an infernal that retains his sense of self and kills the judge. Company 8 learns of the appearance, but Princess Hibana of Company 5 wants to capture the intelligent infernal for herself. Maki is too ashamed to admit she sent Shinra and Arthur away for a simple mission, and the lieutenant promises to punish them both when the matchbox arrives in the city. The boys rendezvous with their squad and are ordered to go on ahead to suppress the infernal. Miyamoto tries to kill his lawyer, but Shinra and Arthur arrive just in time to save him. The boys easily overpower the infernal, who admits he's jealous of the Fire Force's job. The others catch up and both Obai and Hinawa are surprised to see the infernal has retained his character. Miyamoto pretends to surrender and then flees the area, forcing Shinra to chase him alone. In Teidoku, Akihabara, the infernal starts terrorizing more citizens as night falls. Shinra arrives and easily overpowers Miyamoto again, and the infernal calls him the devil. Shinra corrects him, stating he's a hero and tries to spare the man so he can get arrested. Unfortunately, the infernal tries a sneak attack only for his arm to get kicked off. Just before Shinra has the chance to put him to rest, Princess Hibana and the 5th Company interrupt the battle. Shinra refuses to take orders from her, forcing Hibana to suppress him with her abilities. Shinra eventually reaches his feet again and activates his ignition ability, challenging the entire 5th. Captain Obai and the others catch up before a skirmish breaks out, and the 2 captains start negotiating. Despite his suspicions, Obai allows the fifth to take the infernal under the condition that they share their findings. Toru Kishiri of the fifth calls Obai a talentless nobody, infuriating Shinra and Arthur and earning him a punch from Maki. Princess Hibana warns the eighth to stop sticking their nose too deep, but Obai replies that the fire within the eighth cannot be extinguished so easily. Afterward, the fifth and eighth go their separate ways. With her clothing soaked, Iris kneels beside a fountain and recalls growing up a sister alongside Hibana a long time ago. Shinra notices something is troubling her and does his best to encourage the sister. Captain Obai holds a meeting with his team and reveals the eighth will investigate the fifth company even if it leads to them coming to blows. Hinawa explains the situation and shoots Shinra when he gets distracted from the task at hand. Using his ignition ability as a second generation, Hinawa can manipulate bullets and made his shot non-lethal by weakening the gunpowder. After the meeting, Shinra and Hinawa discuss how Hibana mysteriously rose to the roll-up captain using her illegal research. The lieutenant stresses that Shinra and Arthur will be key in the upcoming battle. Meanwhile, at Special Fire Force Combined 5, Hibaba experiments and enjoys torturing the captured infernal, Setsuo Miyamoto. Still uneasy, Sister Iris prays to the sun god in the cathedral, while Shinra ponders his meeting with Hibana in bed. Arthur overhears him, and they discuss what's been bothering Iris. They're interrupted by Maki, who asks where Iris has disappeared to. Alone, Sister Iris heads to the base of the fifth company and asks to see Hibana. Before long, Hibana strikes Iris in rage for suggesting she's abandoned religion with her dark dealings in infernal research. Hibana believes there are only devils walking the earth, not gods, and she admits to completely abandoning the church. Hibana plans on using Iris to reel in the eighth company so she can eliminate them before they pose a threat. The conflict between the two companies immediately explodes as Shinra and the others barge into the Combined to save their comrade. Maki questions whether they should be acting so rashly, but Hinawa believes the fifth can't file an official report with all their shady research laying about. The lieutenant orders both rookies to go after Iris, while he and Maki handle the welcoming party. Hinawa uses his pyrokinetic bullets to take down the fire soldiers guarding the Combine, clearing a path for the boys to infiltrate. Arthur is quickly confronted by a conehead scientist who's improved Miyamoto and given the ability to shoot concentrated blasts of fire. Although mostly unbothered, something appears off about Arthur. Toru Kishiri uses his bubbles to launch a surprise assault on Hinawa and Maki. By breathing flammable gas into zero-oxygen bubblegum, Kishiri creates bubbles that explode once they pop. The bubbles prove to be tremendously explosive. However, Maki gives away the target's position, and that's enough for Hinawa to defeat him using ballistic and ricochet control. Immediately following their victory, the lieutenant and the witch are confronted by the Fifth Angel's three. Conehead and Miyamoto appear to have the upper hand on the night, but he remains confident. The princess learns of the attack and orders the destruction of the Eighth Company so they won't stand in the way of her research. Arthur is overwhelmed and insulted by Miyamoto for being overconfident despite appearing so weak. The Night King appears powerless until he suddenly realizes he's been wielding his sword with his left hand. After switching to his proper right-handed wield, Arthur effortlessly slays Miyamoto in a violet flash. Conehead is amazed by the young knight's strength as Miyamoto is slain at last. Hinawa and Maki dispatch all of the Fifth Angel's three and discover there are more than 3 of them. While all of his comrades claim victory, Shinra finally arrives at the princess's castle. Shinra searches the inner sanctum of the Fifth Company Combined for Princess Hibana. He worries he may not be able to deal with her mysterious ability. The Fifth Angel's 3 confront Shinra, but they're easily dispatched by the rookie fire soldier. Hibana tells Iris that her allies have arrived to rescue her. The princess tells her to pray for her allies because it all ends in flames. All of the female nuns they grew up with burned up, but Hibana gained abilities. She believes she is standing on their ashes and can achieve happiness this way. Iris argues her former sister will never attain happiness this way, but Hibana lashes out with fire. Shinra arrives, claiming a hero is here to save Sister Iris. Iris tells him to run, but Shinra stands up to the captain. Hibana calls him Gravel and uses her ignition ability to disable him. Shinra collapses from lightheadedness and the princess steps her foot into his head. Heat Syncope, Hibana's ability, envelops her enemies in a special heat that stops the blood flowing to her target's brain. Shinra stands up and claims the dizziness is all in his head. Hibana calls the hero delusional and is surprised he's able to stand. She calls upon her red-hot flowers made from fire and decides to destroy him despite his ability to fight back. Shinra reminds her that he's a hero and activates his flames, claiming the woman is mistaken that she'll win. Early in the scuffle, Shinra appears to be staggering around and can't even fly properly. The princess summons her Sakura tree and demands Iris and Shinra concede there are no real gods or heroes in this world. Iris reminds Hibana that they prayed together at the convent when they were younger. In response, Hibana recalls everyone but the two of them perishing in a fire that burned up the church. Shinra stands again and says Hibana is a victim of the flames just like he is. The princess tries to burn him alive using Sakura Blizzard and demands he bow down to her. Somehow, he resists the heat and stops himself from collapsing. Shinra says he must defeat her for her own good and be a hero. She refuses to believe there are heroes in this world, and Shinra says that's exactly why he must become a hero. Hibana is surprised by his words, and the would-be hero lands a solid punch on the captain. In the past, Iris and Hibana were happy growing up. However, after the incident that took the lives of their friends, she threw herself into sorrow. She left the church and decided to act as a devil of fire should. Hibana desired to learn what she could about infernals in order to bolster her ranking in society. Hibana awakens and finds Shinra and Iris protecting her from the Sakura tree. Iris says that she's always looked up to Hibana, but the princess claims that she's only supported by the flames. She believes she has nothing now that she's lost, but Shinra says she has a hero by her side. She asks why he should be obligated, but Shinra reminds her that heroes don't need a reason to save others. Hibana and Iris appear to make up, and the princess even shows her the flowers from their childhood. Afterwards, after finishing preparations, Captain Obai finds out that the battle is over. The first company, led by Leonard Burns, prepares for joint training with the 8th. Captain Burns seems well aware that the 8th Regiment is making their move to investigate them. The 8th holds an informal party for several other companies for the training. Afterward, Obai and Hibana discuss Obai's plans to extort the truth about human combustion. She explains that he might not understand her research and that she had a change of heart because of Shinra. Hibana also reveals that there is someone out there causing human combustion. They decide to work together to bring justice to those causing these fires. All of the infernals that have tested differently from others have all been from the Shinjuku district, under the first company's jurisdiction. In a meeting with his subordinates, Obai reveals his plan is to infiltrate the first district under the cover of the rookie reassignment training system. Shinra and Arthur are ordered to go undercover into the first and learn what they can about people artificially creating infernals. Maki guides them to the Holy Sol obelisk, the fancy base of the first company. Takeru Noto from the 2nd and Toru Kishiri from the 5th join them as camouflage for the operation. Karam Flam greets them inside and berates them, but Shinra just takes it as redundant speech. Karam leads them outside to meet with Captain Burns and the rest of the first in the Grand Cathedral. Shinra is excited to meet Captain Burns, anxious to find out anything he knows about the fire from 12 years ago. Maki introduces the new recruits to Captain Burns' 3 lieutenants, Foyan Lai, Karam Flam, and Rekka Hoshimiya. Shinra suddenly challenges them to a sparring match in order to assess their abilities. Rekka claims that won't be necessary, but Burns decides to go along with it. Hearing about Shinra's sparring match with the captain, Tamaki rushes to the practice grounds. Burns decides to start with the lowest numbered company, but Takeru is too shy to want to participate. He spars with Rekka anyway, where the latter calls him Juggernaut. Takeru doesn't like using his flames, but Rekka talks him into fighting. Rekka evades all of the Juggernaut's fire missiles, and Karam is forced to snuff them out himself using thermo-acoustic cooling. Toru declines to go next, so Captain Burns decides to face both Shinra and Arthur at once. Arthur attacks first, but his Excalibur is blocked with a single hand and exterminated in a flash. Shinra goes on the offensive and tries to apply pressure with his flaming feet, but the captain is simply in another league of strength. Burns asks why Shinra wants to be a hero, and after hearing his answer, effortlessly defeats him. Following the battle, Captain Burns officially welcomes all the new trainees. Shinra is discouraged by the loss, but Karam admits both the rookies did fairly well, and he'll be taking charge of them. One of the members of the first company is a traitor. In the midst of a large mist, one of the lieutenants uses an unmarked telephone booth and claims that the infernalization will move forward without a hitch. He also reveals he's talking to the evangelist. Captains Obai and Hibana meet to share her research notes. Hibana reveals that insects are used to pierce the core of the inflicted infernal from the outside, differently from the spontaneous human combustion. 5 days since joining the first, Shinra awakens and reminds himself they have a month to find information about the infernals. Lieutenant Hinawa comes to visit them, as he's apparently been doing every day. Hinawa and Hibana discuss the peaceful atmosphere at this company as if they have nothing to hide, unlike the fifth. Artificial infernals have been appearing in closed-off fire sites that only fire soldiers can gain access to. This has led Hibana to conclude that no matter what, there is a high probability the first is behind this. At lunch, Takeru talks with Shinra, Arthur, and Toru about why they joined the fire soldiers. They're interrupted by Tamaki when suddenly the fire alarms go off. They separate and go off to their designated lieutenants. Everyone meets on site and acts swiftly to neutralize multiple reported incidents of infernals. Karam orders Shinra and Arthur to remain on standby, but Shinra detects an infernal appearance. He notices a civilian who's suddenly transformed into an infernal by another person. Confident in his feat, Shinra chases down the culprit only to find Rekka and Karam at the end of the alley. Shinra remains undercover and keeps Arthur from running his mouth. Tamaki appears and confirms the infernal has been dealt with. Karam orders everyone to leave and the rookies regroup in their room. Arthur knows that the lieutenants are behind this, but Shinra says they don't know who friend from foe is yet. Shinra reveals he saw a fire soldier internalize a civilian by pressing an insect in a bottle on their back. They start by investigating Karam's room after telling Juggernaut to keep them busy. Arthur breaks into the room using Mini Excalibur and breaks into one of Karam's shelves the same way. Inside, they find one of the infernal insects and conclude Karam is their culprit. Suddenly, Karam appears and claims he left an insect there on purpose. He decided to test them due to their behavior in the alley and concludes the eighth is investigating the insects as well. Karam surmises that Rekka must be the one behind these incidents. There was an incident 2 months prior to where a group of children were burned in an unnatural incident, reminding Shinra of his past as well as Hibana's. It was there that Karam found that insect. He's distraught that his friend has turned to such evil. Meanwhile, Rekka manipulates Tamaki into rounding up a group of young children in a secluded area. He claims he's found a sacred prayer that will prevent them all from ever turning into infernals. He's made sure that they've kept this meeting a secret and asks Tamaki to step outside so he can be alone for the prayer. Tamaki wants to stay for the prayer and he hugs her out of appreciation, or so it appears. However, Rekka Bear hugs her until she falls unconscious. Afraid, the mother of the children tries to take them away, but Rekka turns her into an infernal first before destroying her core. At the cathedral, Shinra and Arthur join Karam on his mission to search for Rekka despite his orders for them to remain behind. Meanwhile, Rekka torments the scared children and Tamaki wakes back up. Tamaki realizes that Rekka has been creating infernals and he abuses her. He shouts that he won't give up no matter how many children he must sacrifice in order to create infernals for the evangelist. Rekka orders her to stay quiet and kicks her to the ground. He wants to create a pilot light and transforms one of the children into an infernal, causing Shinra to detect it as he flies through the sky. As Tak burns, Rekka orders him to command the flames and the boy appears to survive the incident. Rekka claims he's compatible with the pilot light and tries to move on to the rest of the children. Tamaki begs him to stop and uses her flames as a signal fire. Rekka beats on Tamaki, betraying her image of him. The girl recalls her admiration for Rekka's enthusiasm during a past mission. However, currently, the lieutenant she respected so highly is trying to kill her and transform children into infernals. Shinra arrives to save the day, stomping Rekka's face into the ground with his burning foot. Shinra turns to Tamaki and asks if she's okay, but she can only cry in response. Rekka recovers and demands Shinra not interfere. He strikes the rookie with his Star Fist jab and they engage in a fight. Rekka notices that his insect is drawn to Shinra's flames. He says Shinra has an unsullied flame, Adola Burst. Rekka has been transforming children into infernals to find someone compatible with the Adola Burst. Shinra realizes that these sacrifices have affected his life and Hibana's. Rekka tries to showcase his more impressive firepower and burns away Tamaki's clothes. Shinra can defend himself and believes his ignition ability is about even with his opponents. Shinra believes he can win by utilizing his mobility, the area he has Rekka beat. By taking their battle to the sky, Shinra is able to outmaneuver Rekka and defeat him with a decisive axe kick that drives the traitor's face back into the pavement. Tamaki makes sure the children are safe while Rekka lies defeated. Shinra has exhausted himself and demands Rekka give himself up without any more resistance. He refuses to allow compatible children to get away and claims he will do whatever it takes for the evangelist. Shinra demands to know what Rekka is after, but the crazed traitor believes they must turn all people to flame in order to return humanity to the Great Flame and transform the world into a second sun. Before Tamaki escapes with the children, Rekka prepares to stop them so he can brainwash them to serve the evangelist. Despite overusing his flames, Rekka tries to exterminate everyone there. However, Karam arrives and completely freezes him using his power. Foyenlai arrives as well, and they discuss the possibility of a powerful organization being behind this. Suddenly, Rekka is pierced by a flaming arrow, killing him. Two warriors in white robes snipe from a rooftop a far distance away. They try to eliminate the remaining fire soldiers and even shoot off Foyen's arms. Shinra puts up a smokescreen and spots the enemy from a window. Tamaki marks the targets with her flame and Karam freezes it in order to block their view. Realizing they've been spotted, the mysterious white robes retreat. Everyone regroups and Karam uses his robe to cover Tamaki's revealed body. He tells her to be more prepared in order to avoid the children's casualties. Karam believes Rekka wasn't always an evil person and wants to know who turned him into this. Shinra believes that his brother has been taken by the evangelist and exploited for his abilities. Shinra and Karam agree to work together in order to go after the evangelist. The Emperor calls for a meeting between all captains from every Fire Force company. Once again, Hibana is at the 8th baiting Shinra and annoying Obai. The office is quite lively with the addition of Tamaki as well. Shinra and Tamaki join Lieutenant Hinawa, Captain Hibana, and Captain Obai on their way to the conference. The captains have never met before during Obai's time, and this means that the topic of discussion is very important. They need Shinra's intel on the white-clad organization and the evangelist. The meeting is to discern how to deal with the evangelist, the white-clad, and the man-made infernals. On their way to Central, they pass the Amaterasu power plant, which powers the entire Tokyo Empire. Karam greets them at the door and tells Obai he would like to work with the 8th to find out the truth about Rekka. Everyone else goes inside while Dr. Giovanni lurks in the shadows and asks where her allegiances truly lie. All of the captains are present inside for the meeting, including the ever-elusive Benemru Shinman from the 7th, known as the mightiest fire soldier of all. The Emperor enters the room and everyone folds their hands in prayer except for the 7th. The emergency conference begins and the Emperor orders each of the companies to bring down the evangelist. Benemru gets even more disrespectful, and the second captain demands an apology. As a proto-nationalist, Benemru claims the 7th will act however they want and leaves after refusing to swear loyalty to the Empire or the Great Sol. The Emperor continues to explain their plan to take down the evangelist and Joker listens in from the outside. The Emperor addresses Shinra and tells him about how the Adola Burst he possesses. An Adola Burst is a pure flame, and according to Dr. Giovanni, the evangelist is trying to acquire multiple Adola Bursts. Dr. Giovanni suggests that they keep Shinra safely locked away, but Hibana and Obai take responsibility for his safety. After the meeting, Obai returns to the 8th, but Shinra goes to see Amaterasu on his own. Joker confronts him at the power plant, and the two meet again. Joker tells Shinra that an Adola Burst is the sacred flame of this world and claims he doesn't want to fight. The mysterious man says he would like to reward Shinra for getting closer to the truth. He reveals that Shinra Kusakabe is the commander of the Knights of the Ashen Flame, serving under the evangelist. Before Shinra can ask any more questions, Joker suddenly disappears. Shinra returns to the 8th headquarters and Hinawa orders everyone to read over hundreds of documents with information about the Evangelist and White-clad organization. Arthur's idiocy causes his brain to short out from too much reading. Shinra struggles to come to terms with the news. That night, they take a break for dinner. Shinra and Hinawa cook together and the lieutenant reminds him that he can always talk to him about anything. During dinner together, Shinra tells everyone the truth about his meeting with the Joker and his brother Sho. To his delight, they all decide to support his decision to go after the Evangelist and save Sho. Meanwhile, the Knights of the Ashen Flame meet and Sho Kusakabe cracks an all-too-familiar smile. The 8th Company gathers to discuss reports found that could be connected to the White-clad organization. This particular report has to do with the first fire the 8th ever reported to. Even before Maki and Iris join, Obai asks Lieutenant Hinawa to explain the origins of Special Fire Force Company 8. In solar year 195, Takisa was a member of the Tokyo Imperial Armed Forces. Stationed on the Yokota base, Hinawa was friends with Maki and Tojo. At the time, he didn't believe in Maki's potential because she was the daughter of General O's. Tojo tried to get him to lighten up and even tells him he's not as cold as he thinks he is. Unfortunately, that night, Tojo suddenly infernalizes. Unable to stand the grief of killing his friend, Hinawa chooses not to shoot Tojo before he becomes a full-blown infernal. The next day, Hinawa received Tojo's baptized gun and journeys through Tokyo, happening upon a fire-fighting scene. At the time, Obai was still a firefighter who didn't agree with most fire soldiers' methods of dealing with infernals. Members of the 3rd Company had no compassion for the living and decided to prioritize the infernals based on points. Hinawa watches as Obai tries to console the family of the victims and promises to put her husband to rest himself. Hinawa confronts him and introduces himself. A firefighter and a soldier disobey the fire force's rules and decide to work together to defeat the infernal. Hinawa shares that he's not a follower of Saul, yet he could not shoot his infernalized friend with an unbaptized gun. Obai finds the infernal and replies that this isn't about the great soul. It's important to take care of the dying infernal. Baptisms and prayers are simply what helps put their souls to ease. Obai tells Hinawa he's a kind man, and the sergeant dispatches the infernal after the prayer. Afterward, they both decide to establish their own special fire force company meant to track down the secret behind infernals and spontaneous human combustion. 2 years later, they receive permission to start their company and set up base at the rundown cathedral. For their first recruit, Hinawa brings Maki into the fold. Back in the current day, Maki is flattered by the story. Obai reminds them that the 8th's beliefs are still the same to this day. At the 8th's first fire scene, the victim was an infernal dressed in all white. They were put down without incident, but there was a multitude of strange factors surrounding that incident. The business where it happened is still functioning and is located in Asakusa, the territory of the 7th Company. In Asakusa, Benimaru walks through streets. He's popular in the area and is widely known by the name Waka. He receives some sweets and attention but remains mostly cold and aloof. Benimaru returns to the 7th base and shares the sweets with twins Hinata and Hikage. Konro Sajimiya tells his captain that the 8th plans to investigate their jurisdiction. Benimaru says to ignore them, but the 8th abruptly arrives without warning. Obai claims he was trying to avoid the formalities Benimaru hates so much. Benimaru says he doesn't care about the Evangelist and tells them not to disrupt his turf. He doesn't even believe the Empire or that people are creating infernals, despite Shinra's words. Shinra tells Benimaru that he does nothing despite being the mightiest Haikshi. Before things escalate between them, Asakusa sounds their version of a fire alarm. Benimaru learns of the infernal's appearance and tells the 8th to leave before he returns. Unfortunately, one of their citizens has become an infernal. The 7th Division rallies behind Benimaru and their festival begins. They use matoi that Benimaru ignites and fires at the infernal, destroying several homes in the process. It is revealed that Waka is a compound soldier capable of using both 2nd and 3rd generation abilities. The people of Asakusa can rebuild the homes and are all very grateful for Waka. The destroyed homes are destroyed as an offering to keep the plague away. People are constantly looking for a place to die in this world, and the people of Asakusa want Benimaru to be the one to put them to rest. He is known as the Demolition King of Asakusa. Following Kantaro's funeral, the 8th notices Asakusa's unique way of mourning the dead. They throw a festival and Benimaru orders his men to repair the houses that were destroyed while housing those who've temporarily lost their homes. Shinra and Captain Obai agree they should help with repairs if they ever hope to continue with the investigation. Each member of the 8th proves useful in repairing the demolished city. Meanwhile, White Clads take notice of the 8th's arrival in Asakusa, and the evangelist orders them to exterminate the investigation immediately. At the end of the day's work, Benimaru treats Noro's burns, and the twins arrive with Shinra. Shinra entertains the girls. Conro admits he's taken a liking to those in the 8th, even suggesting that they cooperate with them. Benimaru claims he's not cut out to be leading others, but decides that he'll cooperate because he doesn't dislike them either. Later, Shinra asks Benimaru about Conro's Typhlosis burns. Benimaru requests to meet with Obai, and so Shinra brings him to the others. The other members of the 8th reflect on their improved relationship with the 7th. Iris stayed behind to help the 5th manage the 8th's jurisdiction while they are gone. Benimaru goes to meet with Captain Obai, but overhears him talking with Lieutenant Hinawa about transforming Kantaro into an infernal. He immediately attacks using his flames, and so Shinra tries to calm him down. Benimaru doesn't believe anything they say and decides to fight the entire 8th company. However, Benimaru doesn't know White Clads were actually portraying Obai and Hinawa to trick him. Obai prepares himself to battle while the others hold him off. Benimaru is able to overwhelm all of them by himself, but Obai returns after donning his Fire Force armor. He challenges Benimaru to a duel, captain to captain. Despite not having any fire powers of his own, Obai fights on against Benimaru to clear his name. Obai is able to resist most of Benimaru's attacks and even lands a solid headbutt on him. Hinawa decides they need to stop the captains from fighting, and Conro tried so step in. He manages to calm Benimaru down before he unleashes another attack. They go back to the guardhouse, and they discover the Obai that ordered Shinra to get Benimaru might not have been the real one. Benimaru leaves to investigate, and Conro shares the story of how he got burned. Before they joined the Special Fire Force, Conro and Benimaru fought against powerful infernals that burned down an entire city. They came face to face with a demon-like infernal, and Conro pushed Benimaru out of harm's way to save him. In spite of reaching his pyrokinetic limit, Conro faced the infernal alone. In solar year 196 in Asakusa, Tokyo, Conro survived the fight with the demon infernal. Benimaru finds him carbonized in the morning, but still alive, albeit exhausted. Benimaru argued that he should have fought too, but Conro refused to lose Benimaru at a time like this. Conro tells Benimaru that he will be the one to protect and lead Asakusa. Following the incident, Special Fire Force Company 4 arrived on the scene. They officially induct the Haikshis of Asakusa into the Special Fire Force as Company 7. Benimaru doesn't want to be used by the Empire, but Conro believed they should utilize their resources. This was the story of Company 7's establishment. 2 years later is the current solar year. Conro explains that he has no regrets, and Shinra claims he wants to be a hero, so nobody needs to be sacrificed. There appears to be an uproar amongst the citizens of Asakusa, with several people accusing each other of crimes they have no recollection on. There are several mysterious cases of mistaken identity, piquing Benimaru's interest. Conro and the 8th find Hinata and Hikage arguing whoever is real. Arthur knees Hikage in the face and reveals a tiny old man impersonating her. Meanwhile, one of the White Clad uses his ignition ability to manipulate blood vessels in order to morph people's faces. Yona, the artist, accidentally kills one of the followers and gets scolded for it. The White Clad are ready to turn Asakusa into a sea of flames. Benimaru tries to investigate all the misunderstandings when several infernals are artificially created. The White Clad plan on finding a compatible human or possibly creating a demon, all while hunting down the 8th company in the confusion. While 8th formulates a plan to respond to the fires, they're fired at by several flame arrows. Shinra tries to pursue, but the arrows are fired from several different places. Arthur tries to back him up as they go after the sniper together. Conro and Hinata interrogate the man and demand Hikage. The man doesn't talk, and he infernalizes himself before quickly dying. The people of Asakusa won't listen to the 8th, and Conro decides to ring the emergency bell. Benimaru struggles to direct the people and isn't sure how to proceed. Shinra locates the sniper and encounters two white-clad. Arthur backs him up, and they engage in a 2-on-2 fight. However, their poor teamwork puts them at a disadvantage. Once they get on similar pages and strategize, they overwhelm the white-clad and force Arrow to retreat. Desperate to counterattack, the hooded man consumes an infernal insect. Benimaru puts an infernal to rest and calls one of his flaming Matoi. Beni still defers to Conro as the leader, where Conro instills his faith in Beni to take charge during this time. Beni accepts this reluctantly, announcing to the people that there are outsiders in their midst posing as them to spread confusion and distrust. He declares that it doesn't matter and urges everyone to fight one another as the outsiders won't get the best of them. Meanwhile, Shinra and Arthur are faced with the white-clad archer and her protector that turned himself into an infernal with horns, a demon. Beni spots the demon from afar, determined it will be his opponent. The demon looks exactly like the infernal that destroyed Shinra's childhood home, and he experiences what the archer refers to as an Adula link. Hika is found beating up the white-clad that promised candy in exchange for her kimono. Hina joins her twin, informing her that an old man tried to pose as her. They proceed to beat up the men together. Beni takes the demon into the sky, and Conro witnesses the archer preparing a shot at Beni. Conro tries to use his flames, but due to his condition, he is unable to aid Beni. He calls out for Shinra to save Beni, whose instincts kick in immediately after the cry. He catches up to the arrow quickly, telling himself that his flames are the ones to preserve mankind rather than destroy it, and kicks the arrow out of the way. The archer compares Shinra's Adula link to the evangelist, the commander of the white-clad. Beni uses a move belonging to Conro, the Crimson Moon, to annihilate the demon. Beni freefalls until Shinra catches him. Members of the 7th happily inform Conro that the flames and infernals have been extinguished. Conro says they ought to thank the 8th, particularly Shinra. Yona and Arrow, Knights of the Ashen Flame, debrief Sho Kusakabe on Shinra. They inform him that Heron has been martyred. Arrow notes that Shinra's Adula link was connected to the demon. Sho claims that he wanted Adula link at any cost. Sho says that next time her will go. Meanwhile, Obai deals with forensic scientists, Victor Licht. He's been assigned to Company 8's lacking forensic team. Licht has a connection to Joker. Things get off to a rocky start when he fails to salute with the proper hand. Licht grabs Shinra's feet, hoping to touch the feet that produce the Adula link. Top of his class, Victor Licht headed the Applied Pyrokinetic lab at Heijima Heavy Industries. Victor isn't humble, admitting to his own brilliance. Princess Hibana questions why he's at Company 8. Victor begs to be allowed to join them. Besides, Company 8 doesn't even have an engineer. But they have an idea who they should recruit, Vulcan Joseph. He's been difficult to recruit so far. A god of fire and the forge, Vulcan is profoundly skilled. He does have a hatred for Heijima and the Special Fire Force for their association. However, Obai is sure that Shinra, Arthur, and Iris can get him to join. He tells them to go in street clothing, but don't mislead him. Hibana is certain that this is waste of everybody's time. Vulcan lives in a junkyard. When Shinra and Arthur introduce themselves, Vulcan throws soda cans at them. Vulcan tells them that he won't help fire soldiers. However, his apprentice, Yu, agrees to listen to their pitch. Due to his disdain of Heijima, they use their influence to stop his suppliers. Yu notes that there's a deeper reason for his hatred. However, before he can tell them, Shinra vouches for Company 8's difference. Yu allows them inside Vulcan's home. There they meet Lisa and witness Vulcan in action. He swings his wrenches like drumsticks, beating on his machine. He then kicks it into a wall. Vulcan explains that if a machine would break that easily, it's no different than a defective unit. After some hijinks, as he realizes that Shinra, Arthur, and Iris are inside, a guest arrives. Outside, Vulcan and the 3rd Company Captain Giovanni meet. Giovanni stopped the supply line to pressure Vulcan to join them. Vulcan accuses Giovanni of murdering his father and grandfather. Giovanni mocks Vulcan's dream. Shinra offers Company 8's help. Iris begins randomly pressing buttons. The incompetence of Shinra, Arthur, and Iris has a charming effect on Vulcan. He offers to show them something to make their trip worth it. He shows them a machine that projects images of sea creatures in the ocean, elephants and birds. Vulcan's dream is to bring the now extinct animals back to life. However, he doesn't have the technology to do so. We learn that Lisa lost her parents to an infernal. Homeless, Vulcan took her in. She informs them that Vulcan's father and grandfather both turned into infernals at the same time. However, he doesn't believe that it was random. He thinks that Giovanni has something to do with it. Formerly an apprentice of Vulcan's, Giovanni then went to work for Hajime. Vulcan's family has always had a bad relationship with Hajime. As Lisa heads inside, Shinra's Adola Link senses Giovanni's intent to kill Vulcan. Vulcan offers soda to his parents' grave, telling them about how hard work has been and how he has found a new family. He shares with Lisa and Yu that he wants to form bonds that never break like his grandfather and father did. Shinra, Iris, and Arthur discuss what Giovanni's true intent could be and why it would be murderous. Shinra seeks out where Giovanni may be while Arthur is tasked with protecting everyone else. Arthur tries to tell Vulcan about it, but Vulcan finds it hard to believe that he has the same concerns about Hajime as 8th Fire Force. Yu interrupts them to point out the white-clad gathering outside. Giovanni attacks Shinra stealthily with wire-controlled fists, wanting to take Shinra to the evangelist because of his Adola burst. Giovanni electrocutes Shinra from above. Meanwhile, Arthur explains he cannot fight when he doesn't feel knight-like, so Vulcan begins to assemble gear to help Arthur out with that. Arthur prepares to fight with a cloak, sword, and donkey head strapped to his groin as his stead. His sword is stronger than usual, and he effortlessly eliminates the clone illusions of the white-clads to reveal there are only 2 of them. One white-clad summons a morning star and approaches Arthur, who deflects his blows effortlessly. The white-clad that creates the clone images creates Arthur to mock him. They destroy Arthur's donkey, which takes down Arthur's power considerably, but rises again to avenge his stead. Vulcan urges Lisa and Yu to escape, but they refuse to go without him. Vulcan reveals his forefathers built Amaterasu. Last second, Lisa turns on Vulcan and Yu, knocking them both down. Giovanni enters asking for the key to Amaterasu, shooting Yu as a tactic to get the information he wants. Vulcan seems to not know where the key is, angering Giovanni to the point of him yelling vehemently and beating Vulcan in a robotic manner. He destroys Vulcan's projector that had Vulcan's dreams in. Hibana reveals she planted a bug on Iris and has been listening in and unties Shinra so he can get back to Vulcan's workshop. Giovanni finds the key within the projector he smashed. Shinra busts in just in time to try to intervene. Outside, Hibana aids Arthur. Lisa attacks Shinra. Her flames are magnetic and drawn to living organisms. Vulcan instructs Iris to start pressing buttons at random, causing animatronics to fall from the ceiling. Lisa's flames are forced to withdraw as the amount of machines producing a magnetic field can collectively mimic a person's. Shinra is quick to send Giovanni flying through the wall, outside. Shinra's Adola Link becomes active again, as Sho is near. Shinra is immediately elated to see his brother, proud that Sho grew up to be so handsome and cool. Sho is clueless, unaware that Shinra is his big brother. Sho finds himself disgusted and declares that Shinra will be coming with the white-clad. Arthur tries to intervene, but Sho slashes him across the chest with his sword. Licht helps everyone escape by truck. Vulcan scoops up Arthur and Shinra in their passing. Vulcan calls out to Lisa to come along, but fails to bring her on. Sho seemingly teleports in front of the truck to stop them, but Joker appears saying that he cannot have Shinra yet. Joker vanishes as he is sure that Shinra has gotten away, revealing that Sho and him landed minor cuts on one another, such as one in Sho's sword and Joker's eye patch. Shinra reports to Obai over the phone at the hospital. Vulcan agrees to stay at the 8th, as the workshop is no longer safe for him. Vulcan still wishes to bring Lisa back and return his found family to normal. He is confident that Yu will be okay. When Vulcan asks about Sho, Shinra says not to worry about him and that Vulcan is not alone. Hibana questions Licht on his timing, suspicious of him. On the way home, Shinra vows to uphold his promise to his mother from when he was a child, to protect his little brother. He wants to bring his brother back. Vulcan is surprised by how the 8th behaves over dinner, finding it endearing and nothing like he imagined. Vulcan revisits his workshop to offer soda to his father and grandfather, telling them how he is being taken in by the Fire Force. He apologizes to them because he is going to break his promise by helping the 8th. Flam, Hibana and Conro arrive to share notes on the 8th's investigation. They discuss how the 3rd is scandalized and are trying to cover things up. Obai says he has Licht trying to find their base, who is seen conversing with Joker. No one else knows this, but Hibana is suspicious of Licht and questions Obai's choice to trust him. Joker asks Licht if he can come up with a plan to improve Shinra's flames. Meanwhile, Conro offers Obai to train the recruits in hand-to-hand combat. Arthur and Shinra are trained by Beni to fight. Beni instructs Arthur and Shinra to devise finishing moves. Licht arrives and explains a way Shinra can boost his flames, asking Beni to demonstrate by making the propulsion of his flames tighter and more exact. Conro threatens Licht, finding him to be suspicious and an odd fit for the 8th. Arthur trains his fundamentals with Beni. Meanwhile, Shinra tries tightening the propulsion of his flames and barely maintaining control of them. Back at the 8th, Vulcan is working on creating ways to improve snuffing fires with his creations. He also creates support weapons for Sputter and Flare. Beni informs Shinra about why he uses his hands certain ways when using his flame, tracing it back to martial arts. It is Tenakata, which each hand formation has a different use and meaning. He explains one used for increasing foot power, which Shinra uses and finds his flames compressed instantly. With intense focus, his speed has increased significantly. Beni asks Shinra what his finishing move is called, only to reject what Shinra comes up with. Arthur begins training with a katana, learning new techniques on how to swing a blade. As Shinra hones his flames, he experiences his link to his brother. A few members of the White Clad hold a meeting where Dr. Giovanni mentions that soon the 8th Company will discover the location of their base. Sho mentions that it works in their favor due to one of the 8th's members possessing an Adala link. When he was a child, Shinra's mother would get him to pick up his after himself by telling him that naughty boys are sent to the Nether. It prompts him to quickly put away his toys, but as he's doing so, he mentions that he's unafraid. Shinra remembers promising Sho that if the latter ever was taken to the Nether, Shinra would come save him. In the present, Obai tells the 8th that evidence left at Vulcan's workshop helped Victor determine that the White Clad must be hiding in the Nether. Iris tells them that the Netherworld is an unclean place that even Saul's light cannot reach. Victor explains that in reality, the Nether is actually a network of subway tunnels that were mostly buried during the Great Disaster. That night, Shinra dreams about a woman who looks like Iris. A few moments later, he feels his Adala link and awakens. The next day, as the 8th are heading to the Nether, Obai reveals that typically people aren't allowed into the area, but they were given special permission to investigate. Iris reiterates that it's an unclean place where inhuman creatures live, stating, "It's super scary." When they arrive, there's a short discussion that takes place before Hinawa tells everyone to be quiet, and Iris offers a prayer. Inside, Maki lights their way through the tunnels while Yona and Mirage create a distraction that separates the team. Afterward, Arrow orders Assault to go after the team and leaves to help, but suspects that Assault may wipe out the 8th by himself. Iris, having been left with one Takami and one imposter, struggles to find a difference between the two despite one of them having a man's voice and the other being able to use Nekomata Takemki's ignition ability. Takami then trips, causing all of her clothes to somehow fall off, which convinces Iris of her legitimacy. After fake Tamaki runs off, Assault arrives. Alone, with Sputter and Flare, Maki is face to face with Flail and a group of White Clad. At first she is scared, thinking them to be ghosts, but is quickly relieved and dispatches them easily with the new gear Vulcan made for her. Tamaki begins to fight Assault, who comments that she seems to have a high resistance to flames, but that due to not wanting to hurt women, he will kill them quickly. Recalling a conversation from the day prior, she is encouraged to give the fight her all and manages to avoid Assault's crimson bullet. Unfortunately, her lucky lechery activates and distracts Assault, which gives Iris an opening to bash him with a metal pipe. Tamaki and Iris then beat him unconscious and walk away, happy they could defend themselves. Hinawa faces Arrow alone. Licht is taken hostage by a White Clad and used as bait for Shinra. He breaks Licht free with his move Rapid. Hinawa and Arrow swap strategies to root one another out. Hinawa runs through an abandoned train and Arrow uses this to her advantage by locking him in there so he can't escape her shots. They share their ideologies with one another, prompting Arrow to ask why Hanawa fights if feelings are exhausting. He claims it is because he is fired up. Hanawa begins shooting with a shotgun so powerful that it requires him to replace the barrel after every shot. An onlooking white-clad describes it as a shootout between two tanks. Hanawa is struggling to stay awake, considering how things are as he dies. He climbs to his feet, remembering that 8th is barely a company and he can't leave Obai to lead it alone. Hanawa uses Arrow's flames against her by increasing the speed of his bullet with it. Defeating Arrow, he slumps against a pillar. Two white-clads approach him, and he flicks a bullet at them, shy of hitting their heads. The ceiling caves in and opens a hole. Arthur is on the other side of. One of the white-clads recognizes Arthur from Vulcan's workshop. He creates a mass amount of clones. Arthur is able to tell which clone has the weight of life in it, which Benny taught him and Shinra. Using this, he roots out the white-clad and strikes him down, the slash of his blade following just above Hanawa's head. Maki comes across Tamaki and Iris. Coming after Vulcan and Obai is Giovanni and Lisa. Giovanni says he came to see Lisa, and Giovanni notices Vulcan's words to be connecting to Lisa deeply. He refers to her by her real name, Feeler, asking her what is wrong and reminding her that she is a manipulator and threatens her with another lesson. Giovanni explains the evangelists know everything, including the bugs that cause artificial infernals and the flame of perdition. Lisa is compatible with the bugs. Her parents were killed by an infernal, and she feared the flames ever since, but claims the bugs have reopened her eyes. Obai and Vulcan beg for her not to do this, as they are in her flame's grip. Obai is determined to free Lisa from her flames that she has no control over. Pretending to get beaten up by Lisa, Obai places extinguisher grenades under each of her tentacles to snuff them out. Lisa freefalls without her flames, pained that she has nothing left, but is caught by Vulcan. She begins to weep since she is in his arms, but Giovanni doesn't tarry imposing intimidation upon her. Giovanni takes Lisa hostage, choking and burning her with a heated wire while stabbing her with another wire. He tosses a gun to Vulcan and orders Vulcan to shoot Obai. Obai instructs Vulcan to do as Giovanni says, to which Vulcan reluctantly obliges. When Giovanni releases Lisa, Obai rises again, ripping up metal train tracks like they are nothing. Turns out Vulcan made Obai a bulletproof vest before the mission. Obai asks why the evangelists create infernals and what their goal is, which Giovanni refers to as protecting natural order. He explains the Attila burst was feared long before flames engulfed the world. He mentions that an unpowered will never understand, but Shinra may be staring to get an inkling. Shinra is ailed with hallucinations caused by his Attila link, revisited by his memories of him and Sho as children. Giovanni explains that right now, Shinra should be linking to Sho. He goes on to say that the Attila burst can affect all kinds of heat. Obai questions what connects bugs and the Attila burst, and Giovanni merely says that they may have come from the same place as the flames. Shinra confronts Sho, saying he is there just like he promised to their mother. Sho is disgusted by the idea, upsetting Shinra. Shinra closes the distance between them and tells Sho not to speak ill of their mother. They seemingly disappear in a burst of flamed footprints and feathers glimmering around Licht, reappearing as Sho's blade pins Licht to a pillar with Shinra trying to block it. They ricochet off one another. Sho draws his blade and stabs it into the floor, pausing time. He charges at Shinra, sending him flying. Shinra takes severe damage from this hit, spewing up blood. Meanwhile, Giovanni withdraws, saying that his task to get Sho and Shinra together is accomplished. Sho says he and Shinra are in different universes. Licht realizes that Sho is using heat to expand his universe, making Shinra's speed useless against him. Sho initiates their Attila link, wanting to show Shinra rather than explain it. Sho explains that the flames from the Attila burst is the land Shinra sees when experiencing their link. Their flames can affect all living things beyond their universe. Sho shows Shinra the evangelist, who is seated behind him amongst the land of black flame and skeletal remains. When Shinra calls out to the evangelist, exclaiming that he is using Sho for human combustion, the Attila world around them dissipates and they are back to the real world. Licht better explains to Shinra that Sho's flames take from the universe's expansion to stop time. Shinra refuses to give up, despite it being futile. Shinra takes an effortless beating from Sho, but brushes it off, asking why Sho can't be nice and just call him Big Brother. Shinra chases after Sho like it is a game of tag, but Sho simply sends him sailing through the air again to crash into another pillar. Shinra calls Sho a stuck-up brat for breaking the rules of tag. In Shinra's anguish, he forces a link with Sho subconsciously, bringing up a memory of them as children and Shinra attempting to play with infant Sho. Midst that, he nicks Sho on his cheek with his flames. Shinra concludes the reason Sho is so powerful is his connection to the Adola world, so he wonders if he can also use Adola to his advantage. Sho slashes Shinra with a cut that will separate the universes Shinra is in, meaning his time is now limited. Shinra has already felt emotion from others due to his Adola link, but wants to be the one to exert his emotion onto others. Despite being blown away over and over again, Shinra still approaches Sho. Shinra explains to Sho how much Sho being alive means to him, and that he is aware that to Sho, he is just a stranger. Shinra tells himself that he cannot give up now and attempts charging at his brother faster. When Sho freezes time, Shinra is nowhere to be seen. Sho unfreezes time as he is at his limit and Shinra collides with a pillar, unable to control his own ability. When Sho questions how Shinra could disappear, Shinra replies that he is just trying to go faster. Another image from their Adola link enters Sho's mind. Licht contemplates what is happening to Shinra, wondering if he is going so fast that he is breaking apart and reforming. Licht realizes that Shinra could unknowingly form a black hole, destroying everything in existence. When Sho freezes time again, Shinra phases through the motionless world and lands a hit on Sho. A white-clad onlooker from the shadows proposes this is the birth of a fourth generation. Shinra collapses, coughing up more blood. Licht finally calls out what is happening with Shinra's power, that if he overheats while rewinding time, he may die. On reflex, Shinra grins uncontrollably, or rather, he is genuinely happy to be with his brother again. Shinra persists, his memories flooding Sho. Shinra says that his promise to their mother is important to him, but after seeing him like this, it is different. When Shinra was still in school, he was bullied and called a devil that killed his family. After he lost his family, he developed a nervous tic of grinning. Shinra shares that before the fire, he and Sho could smile without thinking about it. Sho remembers that the evangelist approached him as a baby in the fires. Next, he recalls a time when he was a baby and a newspaper had blown over him while he is in his cradle. Shinra came to help get the newspaper off. Upon remembering this, Sho begins to cry. Shinra hugs Sho to his chest, apologizing for leaving him in the dark for so long. The aftershock of Sho's blade piercing his chest sets in, and he collapses, telling Sho this isn't his fault. Hamiya appears from the shadows, saying that Shinra can't control his powers, so he impaled himself without realizing it. She goes on to say they will kickstart the Great Cataclysm again with the Adola bursts. Sho asks her what happened 12 years ago, and Hamiya tells him to beat it out of her. Sho tries stopping time, only to realize his Adola link has been severed. She uses electricity to make Sho walk away. Hinawa shoots her, Arthur charging in after to try taking off her head. It's deflected, and he puts himself between Shinra and Hamiya. She attempts to use her electricity on Arthur, but his plasma blade interferes with the ability. From behind, Obai tries collapsing a pillar onto Hamiya. An earthquake begins to rumble continuously. Hamiya escapes with Sho after exclaiming that this is the work of the evangelist. The eighth is forced to withdraw, and they take the seriously injured Shinra to Kyoko Huang. Kyoko uses her abilities to try to heal Shinra. While Shinra is being operated on, Hinawa is being patched up. Licht is busy investigating. Vulcan is with Lisa, and Iris has left to pray. The operation is a success, but Kyoko estimates that Shinra won't wake up for a few more days. Shinra eventually wakes up, hungry and unable to think of anything but his brother. Burns visits Shinra, commending him for looking better than anticipated. Burns offers Shinra rice and says they can discuss the fire from 12 years ago, the one Burns conveniently denied remembering earlier. Burns reveals that he knew about the fire all along, but didn't tell Shinra anything. This begins an altercation between him and Shinra. Vulcan tries hard to make conversation with Shinra, but Shinra is distant and only replies curtly. Vulcan says he knows Shinra has his brother on his mind, but reminds him that he is not alone. He then lightens the mood by telling Shinra not to overthink things, joking that thinking isn't his strong suit. Shinra returns to the eighth. When Burns took on Shinra, his power is better explained that it is a tremendous amount of heat energy that can boost his physical ability. Burns says he will only tell the truth Shinra if he proves that he isn't weak. Shinra breaks through Burns' force field and lands a hit on his arm. Burns finally agrees to reveal the truth. Shows Adola burst awakened, and their mother became an infernal. In that moment, Shinra's abilities manifested. The evangelist predicted that this would happen. Burns experienced what seems to be an Adola link as he witnessed Shinra's mother as an infernal, clutching baby Sho in her arms. Hamiya used her electricity to control Shinra's mother from a distance so she could bring Sho to them. In that moment, Burns decided to tell Shinra that his family was dead because of the Adola burst being involved. Shinra realizes that he has seen his mother recently in the world of Adola. He wants to learn more about it so that he can see his mother again. He assumes this is linked to Captain Haig. Obai agrees that they ought to investigate this. They both propose that if Shinra's mother is still alive as an infernal, there may be a way to bring her back.